what I would like to mention is that there is a relationship between this law, the law of cause and effect, and every other law of divine love. And that is that with love, there is always something that's unloving, that's the cause of painful events. So whenever the effect is a painful effect, there is always an unloving cause. Does that make sense? So when we notice a painful effect, we know that the law of love has also been broken. All right? And in particular, the law of divine love has been broken. And what it's helped me do is actually come to terms with and remember a lot of the laws of divine love that I'd forgotten for some time in my life. And it helped me remember a lot of them by realising that every single time there's an unloving effect, there was something unloving inside of me that was the cause. Now, if I can give you an example. I think I've mentioned a few times how I had a relationship with a woman who I only saw once a month for one day. And that was over a period of like a couple of years. I only saw her once a month for one day. And every time she left, I just cried and cried and cried for a couple of days, like, because I wanted to be with her more, but she didn't want to be with me. Interesting. But we'll keep that aside for a minute. So I wanted to be with her, she didn't want to be with me. And every time she left to go back to her home, which was 900 kilometres away from mine, I would just cry and cry for quite a few days. And then after a while, after crying for quite a few days one time, I went, wow, I'm in pain. As if I didn't know that earlier. And for the first time I realised that actually I'm in pain because I'm keeping on choosing exactly the same course of action. And then I thought about the course of action. I thought I was almost addicted to this idea that I would long for her and miss her terribly for the entire month, and that was going to be the rest of my life. All right? And then I realised that actually if I loved her, I would not be in pain. Even if she only wanted to see me once a month. I wouldn't actually be in pain if I actually loved her. Because love can only cause loving effects. So if I had actually loved her, if I knew what love was, of course, at the time, if I actually loved her, I would not have felt any pain with her leaving. The opposite to what I was thinking before. Because every time she left, I felt pain. Every time. Every time. She left, pain, leaves again, pain, leaves again, pain. Then for the next few days up to the time she was coming, excitement, she's back again, and then pain. And often the day wasn't very good because obviously she didn't even really want to be with me anyway, right? So I'd feel the pain of that sometimes as well in the day. And then I realised that I'm feeling all this pain and I'm justifying it by saying that it's because I love her. And then it dawned on me, I mustn't love her. I must have something else going on other than love. Right? And when I looked at what else was going on, there was just a need to be treated badly by a woman, thinking that that was love. There was a need or a desire to be wanted by somebody who never was going to want me. Does that make sense? It was very, very, what would you call it? Dysfunctional is probably the best way to call it. And I realised that But I did come to terms with this one thing, and that is that if the effect is painful, then the cause isn't loving. Love is not the cause of pain. Love is never the cause of pain, in fact. So I can't say that I love the person and that's why I'm crying. When the person I love dies, I can't say that the reason why I'm crying is because the person I love died. It's not the reason why I'm crying. There's a different reason. And it's got nothing to do with loving the person. And once you realise that a painful effect can only have an unloving cause, you will be far more self-aware of what's going on inside of yourself. You will want to be actually far more self-aware. And once I realised that link between the cause and effect, and the unloving cause causing a painful effect, and a loving cause causing a joyful effect, both it applies. Once I realised this relationship, I realised that I actually had the power within myself to change the amount of joy I have happening in my life. So even if God wasn't in my life, I would have the ability to become more happy and joyful just by understanding the relationship of the law. Does that make sense? Even if God was not in my life and I wasn't receiving God's love, I'd have the ability to progress and become happier. And that's the beauty of the law, is that it demonstrates that. Every single day to us, it demonstrates this truth, that love always has positive, joyful consequences. And a lack of love or fear always has unhappy, painful consequences. So, how many of you feel unhappy that you do not have a relationship? You know, you feel that you don't have somebody in your life, your soulmate or whatever, that you love. How many of you feel that? Okay. If you feel unhappy about it, it's because there's an unloving feeling coming from you towards your soulmate. Not the other way around. See, a lot of you are going the other way around. You're going, yeah, my soulmate hasn't worked this out yet, and my soulmate hasn't worked that out yet. And even if I know who my soulmate is, well, you know, that's because they don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. It's not true. It's not true. Because you won't feel this grief inside of you about not being with your soulmate if you had actually healed the causal emotion related to love that's involved. Because once you love your soulmate, you'll be okay, completely okay, with not being with them. And the irony is, there's a high likelihood in that place that they want to be with you. Because they're no longer feeling the projection, fear-based and unloving-based projections coming from you that create the separation. And if at least one part of the soul has no unloving projections coming from them, the other part of the soul is bound to be attracted. Can't be helped but to be attracted. Does that make sense? So understanding the law can change your life in a lot of areas.